精英教育，点石成金。
Hello, my name is Catherine and I am an international teacher. I'm currently located in Seoul, South Korea, and I just arrived here a couple of days ago. So today I want to talk a little bit about the cultural differences that I experienced coming from America into Korea during this time of COVID, which is kind of a very unique time in our lives. And for this video, I'm only going to be focusing on the cultural experiences between the two countries related to COVID. So of course, there's a lot to say about the testing, the processing, the flying, everything in terms of how I actually got here. But for this video, I just want to talk about the cultural differences, because that to me was the most shocking. So, and I just want to say that I boarded America in kind of a small city, so maybe the experience in bigger cities would be different in America. So this is just my experience. So first, when I was boarding my aircraft in America, the attitude towards COVID and the attitude in general towards COVID in America is very relaxed. You know, people are aware that it's there. They seem to take it seriously in some ways, but there is not this culture of fear around it anymore. It's very common to see people with no masks or wearing their masks incorrectly. And I don't think it's because these people are bad or they don't know better. There's no longer this fear surrounding COVID in America. Everyone has kind of become very accustomed to it. So at the airport, everybody was very relaxed. It seemed like a very relaxed environment. People were eating, they had their masks off. It was not this, I guess, serious there. However, when I entered the Korean airline, it was very, very different. Most of the people in the flight were, I'm assuming Korean or at least Asian. And the first thing that I noticed was that everybody had on N95 or medical grade masks. I had as well. I had an N95 mask as well. But in America, hardly anybody had medical grade masks. Most people had cloth masks or like design, cloth masks with some logos or some designs on them. But when I entered the Asian side, everybody had medical grade masks, which that was number one, the first major cultural difference I noticed. The second was that nobody was really eating or moving their masks. Now this could be because of the time of day. When I arrived into the Korean airline, it was later in the evening, so it was past lunchtime. It wasn't quite dinner time yet. But I did notice that everybody kept their masks on. Also, there was quite a few people who were in full hazmat suits. They had the full white suits, gloves, goggles, everything, things that I personally have never seen in America. Even at the hospitals, I've never seen anybody in a hazmat suit. So that was quite an interesting culture shock. And during the flight itself, again, nobody would take off their masks. For eating, for dinner time, you of course were allowed to take off your mask, and everybody did to eat. And then once arriving in Korea, it was totally different from my experience in America. Again, because there seems to be an urgency here around COVID that is just not there in America. Now, again, maybe it's different in bigger cities. It's not there in the city that I live in, so it's totally different. In Korea, people take COVID very seriously, and there seems to be a fear around it as well, which is understandable. And again, in America, that fear just seems to be gone. People have come to terms with COVID, it seems, in America, where they are no longer running from it. They're learning to just accept it and live with it, whereas the culture in Asia so far is they don't want to live with it. They want to beat it. So I think this comes down to just different cultural values and different systems of public health and attitudes, and different cultures of independence versus community. So America is a culture that is very individualized. The individual is always prioritized over the group. And my experience in Asia is that it's a very community-oriented culture where community is emphasized over the individual. So this became really evident when leaving one culture and entering a different culture, especially during this very unique time of this, public health crisis. So this is very interesting for me to experience and see for myself. So that's it. Thank you for listening.